Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Good morning. The April 22, 2024 work session for the Douglas County Board of Commissioners will come to order. We welcome you today. County Clerk, please take the roll for the record.
Yes, sir. Commissioner District 1, Ricky Dobbs.
Present.
Commissioner District 2, Whitney Kenner Jones.
Present.
Vice Chair Commissioner District 4, Mark Alcaraz.
Present.
Chairman Phil Miller.
I'm here, thank you, and we're so happy to have our District 2 Commissioner. She comes highly recommended by the District 2 voters, and she also has quite a resume, so we're very proud to have her. Commissioners, are there any changes that need to be made to the agenda?
No, Chairman.
Being none, the agenda stands as approved as presented. As a reminder, each commissioner will have 3 minutes to make their remarks and 2 minutes for rebuttal. Clerk, do we have any public comment?
No, sir, we did not.
Everybody's happy. Next on the agenda is the meeting minutes. Commissioners, please review the minutes before tomorrow's meeting. Hold on a second. I'm getting a telephone call. Sorry about that. The financial report for March the 24th will be presented to the Finance Committee later today. Please prepare to accept the report during tomorrow's commission meeting. We will have 2 proclamations presented tomorrow, proclaiming the week of April 21st through April 27th, 2024 as Library Week, and proclaiming the week of April 21st through the 27th, 2024 as Crime Victims' Rights Week. We will all now begin our agenda items. Clerk, would you please begin with the first agenda item?
Yes, sir. We have grants. Number 7, approval to submit the 5307 Urbanized Area Formula Grant and the 5339 Bus and Bus Facility Grant as recommended by the Transportation Committee, totaling $1,143,723 with a local match of $289,818 to be funded through the Connect Douglas budget upon FTA acceptance, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Director Ron Roberts.
Good morning, Chairman,
Morning.
Commissioners, Administrators, and citizens. This ask is included in our budget. We have identified 11 vehicles that will hit their useful life. 5 of them will hit this year, and in the next 2 years, we've placed these on a schedule. So the grant that we would put in would be for these replacement vehicles. This year, we would be looking to try to get the 5 of the 11 buses replaced before the end of the year. The lead time on these vehicles is a little long, so it may be this fall before we're able to actually get them, according to suppliers. But that's the ask on the table for today. And I'm here for any questions.
What's the life of a bus? What
150,000 miles.
150. Okay. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 8 is approval to accept the fiscal year 23 Stop Violence Against Women's Act. grant award in the amount of $86,792 with a cash match of $28,931 funded from a portion of the salary of Melissa LeBlond, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. And Melissa is here to present.
Hey, good morning.
Morning.
I'm the Director of Victim Services in the Solicitor's Office, and I manage 2 grants our office receives. This is one of them. It is the VAWA grant that is awarded through the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, also known as the CJCC. This year, the VAWA grant was applied for competitively. We applied for the grant back in October of 2023, and then in January of this year, we received our award notice that we were able to secure funds in the amount of $86,792 with a match requirement of $28,931. We received our award packet in March, and this grant runs from January 1st of this year to December 31st of this year. The match requirement of $28,931 will be a cash match from a portion of my salary. For the hours utilized for that match, I spend my time on grant-related activities and preparing reports for the grants. The grant is reimbursed on a quarterly basis. The funds help support the salary of our domestic violence prosecutor, Andrea Moldovan, who specializes in the cases of domestic and dating violence, violation of a TPO or court order, stalking, and sexual assault cases. In 2023, our office received 491 cases in those 4 categories alone. Ms. Moldovan assesses each case and determines the best probable outcomes that help keep victims in our community safe, while simultaneously holding offenders accountable, and her position is of vital importance. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Any comments or questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to our business items. Number 9 is a preliminary plat approval for Chattahoochee Meadows Conservation Subdivision, and this was tabled from March 19th, 2024. Phil Schaefer is here to present.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. So as a result of your request for additional information, we went back and had all of the agencies that normally comment on the subdivision approvals come back and submit some additional information on their forms that we normally receive. Just to remind everybody that Chattahoochee Meadows is a conservation subdivision developing under the residential agricultural zoning that currently is in place, and it's allowed to develop under the residential low-density dimensional standards because they're going to reserve 40% of the land in open green space. As a result of our request for just formalizing the comments, I was able to put together a little different staff report for you for this morning so that we could talk about the impact. So from the impact information that was updated, the fire marshal indicates that the existing fire station is going to struggle to maintain efficiency given the number of projects approved in the anticipated area. Fire Station 4 is, of course, a smaller building on a 0.57 acre lot, so it's a little bit more of a struggle to keep that up to date. The fire marshal, though, has signed the plat for approval. The sheriff indicates law enforcement is adequate, but again, patrolling the area, response times are growing given the population growth just normally around the county as well. Sheriff does not normally sign preliminary plats. School board was one of the critical ones, so we had the school board submit to us the actual enrollments for the different schools, and I was able to take those proportions and calculate out what the student body increase volume would be for each of the grade levels. Depending on which factor you use for students, it would be between 224 to 304 new students at the various grade levels, and the distribution of those would be approximately 43 to 58 in the elementary age group, 39 to 53 in the middle school, and 143 to 195 in the high school group. Of course, the school board indicates that all of the schools that would be affected are at capacity. We don't have a mechanism for helping right now as far as development fees. Department of Transportation for the county, they reiterated the same comments that they had made during the almost year-long, I guess it's negotiations with the developer over how to design the plat itself. And we would take care of all of those through our development review committee process. And so what they're asking for this morning is just approval of the design of the subdivision. And as far as that, staff has reviewed all of the criteria, has had the various agencies that are responsible for signing the plat have signed it, and staff is recommending approval of the Chattahoochee Meadows preliminary plat as depicted, because it's met the minimum standard for design. And we have a condition that no permits for clearing, grading, or land disturbance would be issued until a formal conservation easement agreement is submitted to P&Z's manager, having been duly executed between the developer and the entity authorized under the state of Georgia statutes for such activity. And we do have an update on that issue. The Oconee River Land Trust has submitted a letter as of Friday last week that they are now in the study mode. So they've approved and authorized stepping forward with a framework for the agreement for the conservation easement, and they'll work with the developer now to analyze the property as to how best they would be doing it, and then in short order they would come up with an actual stipulations and agreements in formal form, and then we would record that going forward, so that for all perpetuity the land that is supposed to be reserved for open space would remain open space and cared for. And so that's our recommendation. If you have any questions or
Any
additional...
questions or comments?
Yes, Chairman.
Mr. Vice Chair.
So remind me again, how many houses is it going to be with the conservation area?
So currently the request is for 606 units. That is the maximum density allowed under the RA zoning. It is also the maximum density that would be allowed under the development standards of the RLD. You can't exceed the base zoning standards. So 0.85 units an acre at 713 acres, 606 units.
I'm sorry, what's those lot sizes going to be again?
The 1 acre lot sizes are the normal for right now, by right, but the density allowed is 0.85 units an acre. If you multiply 0.85 times 713, you come up with the 606. But they're being allowed to develop under the RLD dimensional standards, so you don't get more density than what's allowed under the base zoning. So the 606 would still be the max number of units they could get. That's what they're asking for. They're giving up 40% of the land in green space in order to develop on smaller lot sizes, preserve the greenery, and have a more condensed subdivision.
I do have a question also, Chairman.
Yep. 1 second, Chair.
Yes,
I'll go ahead and yield back to Commissioner Jones.
So you mentioned that there are issues with the fire station for being able to service that area.
The chief had indicated that there were some issues with that fire
Was-
station.
Was there any conversation or discussion on what additional services or resources that the fire station would require so that this would not be so burdensome on them, or that they would be able to meet the needs of that community?
Not during our review of the plat. There hasn't been any request from the fire marshal specifically for assistance from this developer.
And then when you developed the 224 to 300 more students, what was the multiplier that was used to come up with that
So
number?
the multiplier is 0.308 or 0.5. So that's the range for new students generated from subdivisions. It's a sort of a national statistic.
I yield back.
thank you.
Chairman.
Mr. Vice Chair.
This is just for my Commissioner Jones, is when I spoke with the fire chief, it's the lack of staff, enough staff in that area, a lack of trucks or vehicles to service that whole area, because it is a good distance to our next fire station. And obviously I spoke with the sheriff as well. There are, I'm not going to state for safety reasons how many deputies in that area, but it's just going to give them we need more deputies on the road also in that area. I did speak with Glenn Easterwood from the school board. I was hoping he would be here today, but he was very concerned about the impact in regards to the additional kids to those schools down there, because they're already pulling kids from other schools to that school because other schools are full. So
Thank you.
I yield back, Chairman.
I don't know if Suleiman should answer this or you, but that Caps Ferry Road being part of South Fulton Parkway, There's already a lot of traffic back up there at 166 and Caps Ferry Road. Are there any plans to alleviate that problem?
For this subdivision specifically, there'll be a southbound decel lane and a northbound left turn lane, and there'll be 2 entry points to the subdivision,
Okay.
as shown on the plat.
Okay.
So the main entry will be it's a more boulevarded entry, a wider entry, and that would have outbound left turn lane, outbound right turn lane, and then southbound Caps Ferry right turn in lane, and northbound left turn in lane, is what I understood from the requirements.
Okay. Are you talking about 166?
Not 166, but Caps Ferry.
Okay. The the backup is when people get to 166. Are there any plans there for a roundabout or
Have to ask Suleiman, I'm sorry.
light or something?
Yeah, that part I don't know.
Here comes some help. Hopefully.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Morning, sir.
So, like Phil mentioned, from the traffic study, we study levels of service given the impact of the development. There are certainly impacts given the increased congestion and the burden on intersections and Caps Ferry. So, like you mentioned, there are traditional requirements in terms of deceleration, lane entrance requirements, and there are intersection improvements of Caps Ferry at 166 that will be required. Along 166, there are a few improvements coming in terms of Georgia Department of Transportation doing their capacity analysis and performing projects in the county. But beyond that, there's no roundabout planned as of right now. It may trigger signal warrant analysis along the intersections, but that's something we'll have to study and incorporate as this progresses.
You being a traffic man, what's the best solution to that problem?
From Department of Transportation's perspective, we can do extensive improvements to alleviate the added burden in terms of widening and intersection control methods like signals, roundabouts. So there are quite a few things that we can consider doing, but Highway 166, given the development and growth that we're seeing in that segment, will eventually require widening and full-fledged intersection improvements for the entire corridor, which will have to be conducted through GDOT.
Right. Okay. All right. Any more questions?
I
Yes.
just have one last question. So am I understanding this correctly, that if they were not attempting to get the conservation designation, that this area would have been developed as a matter of right,
By right.
but the density won't change?
The density won't change. The ability to build that many homes probably would change as a result of topography and environmental issues, but the density would still be allowed at 0.85 units an acre.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Chairman,
Mr. Vice Chair.
I see our fire chief back there in the back, just to make sure that I said everything correctly. Chief, can you come on up?
Morning.
Good morning, Board, Chairman, Vice Chair.
Morning, sir. Just make sure that was I correct in speaking a minute ago in regards to the impact of what you would need to do for your department, in other words, to help service or to maintain after this development is
Yeah,
built
with the continuous growth that's happening out in that region, our services are limited as it is right now. We would have to increase manpower and actually have to build a new fire station to support all the growth that's going out in that area.
I was told the other day that there is another already pre-approved to the backside of St. Andrews, another 100 homes. So that's going to add an additional 100 people.
along with the proposed
Correct.
information that I got about
Another development.
another
Yes.
development, and when you're looking at Foxhall and Preserve Life, it's just a lot of growth out there in which our fire station that's currently out there will not be able to, by itself, sustain that growth. We do have other stations that would have to respond, but the time distance response is going to increase.
All right. I yield, Chairman.
What does it cost to build a fire station? You ought to know because you're building one now, so.
Station 9 is going to be built here. It's actually breaking ground up, but the fire station that we are looking at for Station 4 out in that area, we have just conceptually looked at somewhere around anywhere between $2.5 to $4.5 million.
That's reasonable, I guess.
That's very reasonable.
The
You would-
number of employees to work there,
You would have to increase the number of employees. You would also have to increase the number of bays, because with the growth out there, we will have to add a ladder truck because of Foxhall, because of Preserve Life.
number of employees would be similar to the Lower River Road or Riverside?
The number of employees would actually increase similar to Fire Station number 7.
And that's how many people?
You're looking at about 8 to 12
8 to 12,
per shift.
and 4 shifts,
3.
3 shifts? Okay, so it's somewhere between 24 and 36 people. I'm trying to get my head around what this is actually going to cost Douglas County, and whether or not we can afford to do it at this time, and also the impact on the school system. So,
Right.
So, I know this sounds high to the folks in the community, but by the time you hire an employee and furnish him with the equipment and the training that he needs, probably averages about $100,000 per employee.
That's a very good guess. I would go north of that a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. We're good, sir.
Thank you. Number 10, approval to evaluate a Stryker loaner Lucas chest compression system medical device for 90 days with no impact to the fire department budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Chief Allen.
Once again, good morning. What we're doing in the fire department is we want to basically field test a Lucas device. A Lucas device is a medical device used for chest compressions for immediate cardiac incidents. It's a very effective device. It actually is 93% more effective than normal CPR. And so we're just looking to get a loaner from Stryker to field test.
And that's just an automatic kind of deal that
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
compresses? Okay. And you have any idea what the cost, if we decided to buy one, would be?
Normally, they range anywhere between $18,000 to $30,000.
Okay. I think that sounds very reasonable. Anyone else? All right, thank you, sir.
Okay. Number 11, approval to enter into a 60-month purchasing agreement with Alitech Time Clock Plus LLC to provide implementation and annual integration subscription services for scheduling software at an initial cost of $20,047.50 and $17,010 annually, to be funded through the fire department's budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Chief Allen.
So Alitech is a scheduling software used nationwide by public safety agencies to schedule personnel for their duty. That's simply being put, because we do 24/48s, we have time traits, we have time off. Our scheduling is totally different from the normal 40-hour worker, and with the number of personnel that we have in the fire department, it helps us track their time a lot easier. It also allows us to be able to do reports and be able to monitor individuals who have worked too much, specifically on ambulances, on fire trucks, and be able to gauge that and be able to better understand the overtime factor that it's going to cause, and to help us reduce overtime in those in those aspects. So what we're asking is that we can look at purchasing this software to help us be able to manage our personnel time a little bit better than what we're currently doing.
That's in your budget?
Yes, sir.
That money is in your budget?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
Is this the only software that performs that function?
There are several companies that do this. We've done some extensive research on the different companies. It's not the only company or the only software that does do this, but currently right now we're working off of Excel sheets right now, and that's just not effective for us.
And did you get any bids or proposals from the other companies that do this, or was this the best?
This particular company was the best one. We've been dealing with doing research for about a year, looking at several companies, and for our particular needs, this one turned out to be the most effective one for us.
Thank you.
Chairman?
Mr. Vice Chair.
And I'm just going off memory here, but on our Public Safety Committee meeting, you also said this software is less expensive than the current one or the Tyler Technologies you were looking at, or?
So we know that the whole county is going with time and attendance. We're totally aware of that. But for us, as far as our scheduling goes, the time and attendance was a little bit more cumbersome for us because of the number of people that we have. And so for the scheduling purposes of this, we actually went out to try to purchase something similar that Tyler offered, but it was more complicated than this piece of software that we had. So we couldn't use Tyler's version of the scheduling software because it's not user friendly.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 12, approval to award a unit price contract pursuant to solicitation 2024-014 to Martin Marietta to supply gravel materials in-house construction projects as needed during fiscal year 2024 to be funded by the applicable department's budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Director Arana.
Thank you. Good morning again, Board. We received 5 responses for our solicitation 24-14. This is to procure an on-demand gravel vendor for our maintenance projects, but also to receive competitive prices that could be utilized by departments across the county. This year, Vulcan, our last year's incumbent, was more expensive than the lowest bidder, which was Martin Marietta, out of their Douglasville plant. And our eventual lowest prices or unit prices for gravel this year will be very close to what we had last year. The only change will be the change of vendor. Therefore, we're recommending this on-demand contract for board's approval. And lastly, the on-demand contract basically helps us maintain our dirt roads, provide riprap for our bridge maintenances, and any other needs across the county in terms of pothole patching and other needs for DOT maintenance. Happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 13, appointment of Sarah Jensen to the Cemetery Preservation Commission, effective immediately. Allison Duncan.
All right. Good morning. Thank you. Ms. Jensen has submitted her application to be appointed to the Cemetery Preservation Board. If she is appointed, she will be our 8th member. That is a 10-member board, so we are slowly building back up to capacity after things slowed down a bit during the COVID-19 pandemic. Ms. Jensen is a resident of the city of Douglasville. She has a background in criminal justice, and her appointment comes to us as a recommendation from the Cemetery Commission. So I'm happy to answer any other questions that you may have at this time.
Any questions or comments? Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 14, approval of an agreement with Convergent for installation of loading dock footprint access control in the amount of $22,398 to be funded through the 2022 SPLOST, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Lieutenant Colonel Pounds.
Good morning.
Morning.
So this is the door, the loading dock door in the back. Poses a significant security threat, and it has been used in the past for entrances and exits, and it only needs to be used for deliveries and pickups. We'll have electronic locks, motion sensors, and card readers from moving forward once the work is completed on it. Total cost will be $22,398, and that will be funded by SPLOST. Any questions?
This is at the sheriff's office or?
No,
here?
sir, it's here.
Courthouse, yeah, yeah, we definitely need some security there. Any comments or questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 15, approval to renew the 2024 Esri Enterprise Agreement in the amount of $113,300 to be funded through the GIS Department's budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Ed Dean.
Good morning.
Good morning. We are seeking the approval, the renewal of the Esri Enterprise Agreement. This agreement, so Esri is the only GIS software provider in the industry. This agreement is a 3-year agreement, the first year being $113,300, and each additional year being $116,700. This agreement provides us with unlimited desktop software, unlimited server software, various desktop server extensions, and it gives us discounts on software extensions that are not included in the EA as well. So this is just a list of all the software that is provided for us in this agreement. As I said, the unlimited desktop software, server software, and then there's some more extensions on a limited basis that are given to us. Last week, we did a cost analysis with Esri on what our current setup is now. And with the EA and the extensions that we have, the cost is $120,673. If we went a la carte per year, it would be $178,755. So a savings of close to $60,000 a year with this agreement. And
Any comments or questions? Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Number 16, approval of an agreement with Jennifer Cantrell as appraisal consultant at $56 per hour to be funded from the existing appraisal department's budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Steve Balfour.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Chairman Miller, Vice Chair Alcaraz, board members. Good morning, administration. Jennifer comes to us with a wealth of talent. She has been with Tyler for over 20 years. And talent acquisition for us and the appraisal department has been a daunting task. So we have had a vacancy for a senior appraiser for over a year. We can't attract good talent. So I'm asking for approval so we can continue with the business of the appraisal. And we need to grow with the growth of Douglas County. We need the supporting staff. So if there are any questions, Jennifer is here, and I'll be able to answer any questions. Thanks.
Any comments or questions?
Chair, I do have a question. Do you have any ideas of why that position has been vacant for over a year? Is it because the salary is too low, or?
It definitely.
What is
we
average
are not
salary?
competitive with the metro counties.
What is the average salary in the metro counties for that position?
Entry-level appraisers, that's appraiser ones at trainee, are $55,000 per year, entry level. And that's what we pay our senior appraisers here.
And what are senior appraisers typically making?
In metro counties, senior appraisers are making north of $65,000.
And how many times have you had to use a contractor?
This, Jennifer, if approved, will be our 4th contractor. And we're a staff of 20, including the contractors. We have 55,000 parcels here in Douglas County that we administer, and it's really hard to keep up.
And without the contractor, you guys would potentially miss deadlines to get that out?
And we are deadline driven. Yeah.
And what are the penalties if you don't meet those deadlines?
Some penalties can be losing revenue. For example, we are required to have our assessment ratio between 90 and 110. And if we fall below 90, we may not be able to collect taxes. We will need to get permission from the state to collect taxes. And also, if we get our assessment ratios above 95%, we can collect 100% on utilities. So falling below 95, we lose utility revenue.
And I presume that this has been a reoccurring issue because the salary has been low in that position?
It has been ever since I've been here, and we just need to be competitive. We are a metro county, and we need to, we're competing against metro salaries.
Thank you. Chairman, I yield back.
Okay. Any more comments, questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 17 is approval of a contract with Kavanaugh McDonald Consulting LLC for 2024 GASP OPEB interim annual evaluation in the amount of $8,000 to be funded through the Finance Department's existing budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Dominique O'Shea.
Good morning, Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. This is GASB 75 requirement for other post-employment benefits of our retirees and former employees. And we are using the services of actuarial to make sure we're in compliance with the reporting standards of the inflows and outflows of these benefits, more accountability and transparency, and make sure we have it included in our 2023 financial reports as well. Any questions?
Comments, questions? We're good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, number 18, approval of a contract with Envato Enterprise in the amount of $5,940 to be funded from the Communications Department budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Yvette Jones.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, Board of Commissioners. So Envato is a service we use to do just about everything we do in the Communications Department production-wise. So it's for digital assets such as video illustrations, PowerPoints, templates, stock photos, stock footage, anything you can think of in terms of digital assets in terms of producing for live or recorded productions, also some of our still work that we do for flyers, et cetera. It helps us do just about everything we do in communications. Any questions?
Questions, comments? We're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 19, authorize the chairman to execute an amended employment agreement with Chad Griffin as Parks and Rec Director to be effective May 1st, 2024, pending final legal review. Tiffany Stewart Stanley.
Good morning. I am coming before the Board of Commissioners today to ask for an amendment to the agreement that was approved by the board on March the 5th, where the board approved a contract for Chad Griffin to become the Parks and Rec Director. That contract had the effective date of July 15th. Due to our director, Mr. Dukes, deciding to retire earlier, we are now just asking for that contract to be amended to have the effective date as May 1st of 2024. I will yield for any questions.
Any questions or comments? Thank you. Next.
Okay. We have discussion items. Number 20 is annexation request from the City of Douglasville for property at 1365 Lee Road and Interstate 20. Phil Schaefer is here too.
Mr. Chairman, apologies for a sec here while I grab a file so I can show you things. The first annexation is a small piece of property, and I'm going to let me hit this, at I-20 and Lee Road. Let me grab this. And I will make this bigger. The property was originally a gas station years ago, and then when the Lee Road Bridge was redone and all of the road was realigned, it was torn down. It's been gone for a number of years. They would like to come and annex this property. As you can see, it's 4 gas islands. It's a convenience store. Second building is a liquor store. It seems like we have been getting a lot of these annexations from Douglasville for these 1 or 2 parcels coming into the city for the specific purpose of liquor stores. But I just wanted to point that out to you. There's no county issues involved in the annexation. There's nothing we own. There's no effect to us other than the philosophy of a liquor store. That's about the only thing we could object to. But again, I just wanted to point it out so that you'd be aware that that's what's going on. It's a convenience store. And as you can see, it's kind of a contorted entry. Again, it's because of the way the DOT repaired Lee Road that they've kept a lot of the right-of-way, so that you have to come in and access this property in a rather circuitous method. Staff doesn't really recommend an objection unless you would like to add something into the letter regarding liquor store development in the county, or annexation specifically for liquor stores.
Any questions or comments?
Yes, Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Vice Chair.
Will it make this piece of property an island for the city?
No, the city is literally next door to the west. I'll show
Okay.
you the zoning map real quick. Lee Road at I-20. When you look at, well, let me make it bigger so you can actually see it, sorry. The color is county jurisdiction, the gray is city jurisdiction. So if the city annexes that small piece in red right here, it's just annexing into an adjoining city property.
Okay. Do we have any idea the location or how far away any additional liquor stores are to that area?
If it's a true package store like a normal full-service liquor store, I don't know exactly how far away, but of course, the convenience store on the other side of the interstate, beer, wine. I mean, not wine, but beer, you know. So there's some liquor at this location.
There's a package store about 2 miles down on Fairburn.
Is it at Fairburn? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as you come down Lee Road.
It is a full-service
Yeah.
package store, a liquor store, beer, wine, and spirits.
That's right, yeah. And of course, Publix at Lee and 92, beer and wine as well.
Okay.
So,
I mean, my peers can make their decisions they want to, but I'm about done with liquor stores in our county. We have them everywhere. I would preferably, my thought is I would rather deny this if it's just for the sole purpose just to put yet another liquor store in our county. I yield, Chairman.
Thank you. Yeah.
I would just add to that, there is a liquor store, again, about 2 miles down from there. And then taking into consideration how that road travels going into the city of South Fulton, you also have access to the package stores there. And then on the opposite side of Riverside, as well as down Highway 5, there are 2 immediately at that exit. So within probably a less than 10-mile radius, you would have more liquor stores probably than grocery stores, and I think that that's a bit ridiculous. My understanding is that residents and citizens don't want to see more package stores than grocery stores.
duly noted, and I will put a letter together that expresses all your concerns.
And I would like you to add that there's about 7 liquor stores in that area already. I don't think we need another one.
Yeah, I'll verify if there's even more.
Thank you.
And you can make that unanimous.
Okay, you bet. And the next annexation, I'm going to read the letter because the next annexation is a little problematic. Apologies for, this will take a minute. I want to show you something that we had. Let's see, where's the island map for Austell site plan? I'll show you the site plan first so we can talk about it a little bit. Let's get this bigger. And clockwise rotate. Apologies. We'll get this so you can see and understand what we're talking about. So Austell has submitted now, over the course of the last 4 years, several annexation requests. This current one, I will show you the zoning map in a moment, is specifically to provide for apartments here on the eastern edge of Causey Road. And then this is Smith Hill. This will be townhomes in the middle, and then single-family detached product at the west end. Of course, Thornton is over here on the west edge, and then this is Highway 78, Memorial Highway on the east edge. The circular drive you see here is what was required by the DOT as what they call a quadrant relief street. They've accounted for it apparently in this annexation request. Currently, the stuff below Causey is all zoned commercial, so it could develop as a commercial project. The remainder is zoned residential. I'm going to come back out and I want to show you the previous attempts at this because they're kind of, I would say, in my own mind as a planner, this becomes so tedious because what they're asking for has not been done properly. And here's the issue from the last annexation. If you take a look at the top part here, they were trying to annex all of this southern part and left this island of county property, which violates state statute. And then they came to me and asked, well, what if we slice off, there's a little property right here, this little sliver. Well, could we slice that off and do a lot split and then annex all of this stuff south? And I said, well, folks, look across the street. It's your own city across the street. You can't annex that way. You're still creating the island. So what they've come back through now today, and this is what's really kind of ticking all of us off, and I'm sorry this is on the public record, but as a planner, this doesn't pass the smell test. I'm going to read you what the county attorney's office has sent because this really needs to be on the record. This is regarding the proposed annexation and rezoning of unincorporated property located in Douglas County. The letter is to Dear Ms. Dobbs. A notification of annexation dated April 2, 2024 was addressed and delivered to the clerk of the Board of Commissioners, Ms. Lisa Watson, in an effort to give notice to the county commissioners of a proposed annexation. The Board of Commissioners at its meeting of April 23, 2024 approved the following objections to this annexation. And this is what we're going to ask you for, and it's detailing what the problems are. First, it does not appear appropriate to combine the 100% method of annexation and the 60% method of annexation in one annexation area. So what they've done, and I'll stop there just so I can explain it to you, they have taken properties that are in here that are in the county, and they have said, well, some of these are approving of this, but we're drawing an entire boundary around it, and we're saying 60% of these people say yes, and then over here, the rest of it is 100% of these people say yes. So they're putting two processes together that don't belong together because each one must stand on its own to be contiguous to an existing municipal boundary. So you take 60% of the people, and by golly, the city of Douglasville is eventually going to do that to us in the middle of the town because there's a complete island of city Douglasville property surrounded by county. Well, they could easily take 60% of those voters and annex all of that. Well, here you've got mishmashed together 100% rule and 60% rule. So the county attorney's office goes on, the official code of Georgia specifies that the authority of municipalities to annex unincorporated areas extends to areas which are contiguous to the existing corporate limits at the time of such annexation. And the proposed annexation, combining both 100% and 60% methods, is being used in an effort to bypass that requirement of contiguity at the time of annexation. The Georgia Code does not provide for any such combined annexation. Each must stand on its own. Number two, a review of the proposed annexation of those parcels identified as being annexed through the 100% method is invalid because unincorporated islands would be created again, which is prohibited by law. Number three, the proposed annexation of the parcels identified as being annexed through the 60% method is invalid because Austell has not received the agreement of 60% of the electors of the area proposed to be annexed. The Douglas County Board of Registration and Elections has confirmed that there are 28 electors in the area proposed. Under state law, at least 60%, 17, must approve the annexation. The package from Austell did not include the approval of 60% of the electors. So a problem again. We are, and number 4, we are aware that the property owners and electors that have approved the annexation have been required to execute non-disclosure agreements. The requirement to sign a non-disclosure agreement as part of securing the signature of a citizen is contrary to the spirit and intent of transparency. Some citizens have expressed dissatisfaction at the options presented to them, but feel they can't discuss the options and concerns to understand truth and validity of assertions made by the developer and or Austell. And I won't go into what was asserted, but it's problematic at best. Number 5, Austell's staff signed 14 petitions in favor of the rezoning annexation as the representative of the applicant, including a parcel owned by Douglas County. Anyway, Austell staff does not have the authority to act as a representative for any zoning or land use action on behalf of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. This action by Austell staff calls into question the 13 other parcels in which Austell staff identify themselves as the representative for the property. And lastly, number 6, the Douglas County Water Sewer Authority has the right to provide water and sewer service in this area proposed for annexation, but there's no annexation should proceed on any parcel until an agreement has been reached with the WSA between the city of Austell and WSA for those services. Anyway, so those are the 6 points that we're asking you to sign off on, Commissioner Miller. I'll try and answer any questions, but again, this property, for whatever reason, has been a problematic property for a number of years now. Before you all were here, we did have a request for this southern piece to be annexed into the city of Austell for 2 big warehouses. That's when that Austell, the Relief Street, came on the books at about the midnight hour, when we had gone through all kinds of negotiations with the developer, trying to get them to develop in the county, something legitimately in the county. But again, whatever they're proposing has not ever come to us for you to say yes or no to. It's just gone automatically to the city of Austell. So with those given defects, we're asking for you to recommend objection to this one. And we're under a timeline, which is why we're trying to build this in today, because our 30 days expires May 1st.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Mr. Vice Chair.
Director Rana. In the Transportation Committee, when this was being discussed, when previous Commissioner Robinson was here, that bypass for the truck was to help alleviate a traffic problem, correct?
Yes. Excuse me. Yes, sir. That is correct.
But then they're wanting to turn around and put apartments and townhomes there, which is gonna, I'm sorry, I'm just having trouble wrapping my head around this one, which is gonna create more of a problem, correct?
That is correct. If I could get some background on
Sure,
what
please
GDOT's
do.
trying to address is, this is one of the busiest intersections in the county. The projected traffic on this intersection was roughly 60,000 daily vehicles. What they were trying to do was, so the biggest use is straight cut-through traffic. The second is the turning movement that adds delay. So what they decided was to add this quadrant roadway and displace the turning movement from the intersection in order to alleviate that burden from the center of the intersection. Now, the development across the parcels would certainly add to these plans. It adds traffic to the system, but going through the process, their planning process, GDOT's planning process, encompasses 20 years of growth. So this specific development would certainly be a drop in the bucket, but their proposed roadway will be able to absorb the traffic on the system.
Okay. All right. I yield, Chairman.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes. So, did I hear you correctly, that they had residents that were needed towards the 60% signed non-disclosure agreements?
All of the participants who agreed signed a non-disclosure agreement, whether 60 or 100.
And do we know whether or not they had any legal representation before they were asked to sign those non-disclosure
We do not.
agreements?
No.
And do we know what is in those agreements that
We
were
do not.
signed?
No. We tried to find it, but the attorneys, it's a
I
non-disclosure.
guess my biggest concern would be that annexation petitions are strictly government action that should be transparent, open to the public. It should be crystal clear what people have agreed to. So it would seem to me that having them sign non-disclosure agreements would be contrary to the spirit of transparency in its entirety. So that's one reason why I would not support this. The other issue is, have we ever in the county's history had someone try to present a 60 and 100% petition for those requirements at the same time?
I've looked back through some of the files that are in my office. I can't find any where they've mishmashed those two together. It's just not done.
And so basically, we would be creating almost inappropriate precedent at this point from a county's perspective if we were to allow something like that to go through.
And I'm not sure that the statute would allow it anyway, to be honest. I don't know how you do that.
And then I just want to be clear also, so I did print off a little map, I'm sorry. But so I'm assuming that this is the parcel that you're talking about that is owned actually by Douglas County?
There's a small green parcel up there where your pen is.
Mhm.
That is the parcel in question that we do physically own.
And so you are telling me that someone from the city of Austell signed to approve that, but it's my understanding none of us have been contacted. No one gave express permission, so they were not acting under any authority of the actual owners, which would be the county.
Not to my knowledge, unless Chairman Miller signed a letter, and he doesn't, that would be the only way. And you would have been holding a meeting on that, obviously.
And it's clear that they are mashing it up because there is no configuration upon which they could get this through without creating islands.
That's my understanding, and that's my analysis.
I have nothing further. I yield back, Chair. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Thank you, sir.
Chairman, that is everything on the agenda.
Okay. We have any commissioner comments? Having none, we need to go into executive session. Mr. Coleman?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, we need to go into executive session for real estate discussion as well as litigation and personnel.
Okay. We need a motion to go into executive session and discuss personnel and
Real estate and litigation.
real estate.
And litigation.
And litigation. Everything. Do I have a motion?
Chairman, I make a motion to go into executive session for real estate, litigation, and personnel matters.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Say
Aye.
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 I was going to say raise your hand, but we can't hear you. All right. We will adjourn and go into the executive session.